Welcome back to wherever you may be, part of the 90min Podcast Network. Guys, we are streaming on YouTube, which is all very exciting. You'll be able to watch this podcast, not just listen to it as well. So make sure you do that. You get over there and watch us on YouTube as well. Today, I'm once again joined by Krish, as always. Krish, how are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. We also have another guest, Anita Abayomi, who's now going to be joining us every single week on wherever you may be, which is very, very exciting. Anita, thank you so much for coming on the pod and agreeing to do this with us. How have you been? Have you enjoyed the international break?
Oh my God, that's like the most exciting introduction I've ever had. So thank you, Olivia. I really appreciate it. Happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. But international break has been, it's been up and down. I've had about 6 or 7 Gerrard Lampard debates. So right on track for it to come back to Premier League football. Yeah. Please and thank you.
Tell me about it. I love don't get me wrong, internationals are always good, they're fun, but there's just nothing like Premier League football, is there? So today, because there's obviously, we can go around and do a roundup of international duty, our players on international duty, but everyone knows what's going on, everyone has seen or watched whatever. So I thought today we would just do a little bit of a Q&A. Krish, I love your opinion, obviously, but it's nice to be able to get someone else's opinion as well on this pod.
so bored of my own voice. It's great. Can't wait to just sit here and not talk, basically.
Yeah. I'm not really allowed to answer some questions anyway. So there are some questions on here that I will be able to answer. But Anita and Krish, I'm going to fire away with some Twitter questions that people have asked. The first one I can see is Martin, who's actually a Crystal Palace fan. Anita, he said, I'm asking this as a Palace fan, so slightly biased, but do you feel allowing Conor Gallagher to play in the semi-final of the FA Cup would help him develop and give him better experience?
Help him develop? Okay, listen, right. Will it help him develop? Yes, it will give him that experience in a semi-final. Like I'm all for Connor's development, but he can do the same thing with us next season, So I am totally against him playing for Crystal Palace against Chelsea in the semi-final. I'm going to tell him that for free. So thank you for your question, but please, no. You don't need him in that semi-final, no.
Krish, we were literally, I remember being like I love Conor Gallagher. I love him, but no, I'm exactly the same as Anita. He's our player. We saw Courtois happen in the Champions League, and basically Courtois' performance knocked Chelsea out of the Champions League. So we don't want that again, do we, Krish?
Yeah, exactly. Like we've seen how that sort of stuff can come back and bite you, and you can just foresee him like pinging one in from like 30 yards so easily, can't you? Yeah. He's in too good form. If he wasn't playing well, then yeah, maybe.
Exactly. Right, Alanko has asked, who has been your player of the season? So this is to both of you. A for Chelsea and B in the Premier League. I'll actually start this because this is one I can answer. My player of the season is, so far, Thiago Silva. Could change to Kai Havertz depending on how the rest of the season goes, but I'm going Thiago Silva. And in the Premier League, who's been player of the season in the Premier League? It's got to be a Man City player probably, doesn't it?
I'd say Mo Salah probably.
Yeah.
Or Salah, yeah, maybe, yeah.
He's been quiet recently, but yeah, that period was just unreal, like the start of the season.
Yeah, I sort of forgotten about that. Chris, who's your Chelsea? Who's your Chelsea player of the season?
Think Thiago Silva as well. But yeah, Kai Havertz is getting up there. I think like it's easier to like pinpoint attacking players, isn't it? And he's sort of like hitting that potential that we all expected of him, I think, when we first signed him, which is exciting. But yeah, in terms of like pure consistency and just knowing what you're going to get week in and week out and that it will be top level, I think, yeah, Thiago Silva can say when he's fit, obviously, but yeah. Yeah,
I actually love Thiago Silva so much. Like, it's actually like today, my boss was like, I was talking to him about what I was going to talk about, like at work, and there was a picture of Thiago Silva on the screen, and I was like, okay, talk about Thiago. I love him so much. Anita, who's your Chelsea player of the year?
It's such a hard question. I have like 3 parts to the answer. So, of course, Thiago Silva, I think he's by far been the most consistent, best player of Chelsea season so far. But like you mentioned, Kai Havertz, let's see how he ends the season. Right now, he's on an impeccable form, but at the start of the season, it wasn't that great, especially in the middle part as well. It wasn't so great. So he can come back and surprise us. But really and truly, it should have been Reece James. If he didn't get so many injuries, it would have been him by a landslide. And it is so sad, but he can still surprise us when he comes back towards the end of the season. So I'm still a little bit shaky, but if I had to choose at this moment, it would be Thiago Silva by a land mile.
Love him. This is quite an interesting one. I actually like this question. Nick has asked, who will have a better second half of the season, Mason or Kai? I mean, I'm going to start by, I love Mason Mount. I'm a big advocate for Mason Mount. I absolutely love him as a player. I think he's brilliant. But if we're going on current form for club and country, I think Kai has just, this is the Kai Havertz that I thought we were getting a couple of seasons ago. I was one of those people that I've said it on this pod before, Krish, haven't I, that I just wasn't convinced to start with. And I think that was justified. You know, his performances weren't as good as I perhaps was expecting just from all the hype that came with him signing from Bayer Leverkusen. But now I am fully on board with Kai Havertz. And I think he's going to play a big part in Chelsea's latter stages of the season. Anita, Kai or Mace, what do you reckon?
What kind of is that? That's torture. I'm like you. I'm such a big Mason Mount fan. Like, I want the best for him. I pray for him like on a weekly basis. Like, God, please let Mason Mount put in a good performance this week. Honestly, I love him. And if I'm judging it off of last season, both players came in pretty clutch towards the end of the season. But Mason Mount, he just had all of those games, especially in the Champions League, where he just pulled it out of the bag. So if I have to go for someone, I'll go for Mason Mount. But don't make me ask questions like that, guys. Come on.
Krish, one vote for Mace, one vote for Kai. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's tough. I guess like we're already quite far into like the second half of the season. So in terms of like who's going to have the best one, I would say it's Havertz. And like technically, like I love watching Kai Havertz. He's like my favorite kind of player, like silky, kind of tall, big, like languid, sort of like Kaka style. But yeah, I mean, it will depend. Mason Mount obviously had like an amazing game before the international break against Borough. If he can continue that kind of form, then obviously he's going to be really important. And yeah, he showed last season that in the run-in, he can be like a massive player for us and in the Champions League. But yeah, I think Havertz again has just like hit another level, and it just feels like he is going to be that man this season. It feels like we've sort of found him to be our centre forward, even though we were missing that before and thought we had that with Lukaku. But it seems like he's going to be that guy, which is great, I think. And in the form he's in, I think we've seen like flashes of it before, but I think this is sort of the most consistent it's been now, and it's looking like he can actually maintain it. And I think that will mean he is, our most important player sort of between now and the end of the season.
Well, with that, Anita, Godwin has asked, coming back from the international break, what would your preferred front three be? So obviously, Kai's been doing it. Even Werner was scoring. Mason Mount, we know him. Pulisic scored a hat-trick for America. Ziyech didn't go on international duty, so he's obviously fresh. As is Lukaku, because I think Belgium picked a really inexperienced. It had to be
under 30s or something.
A certain amount of caps or something.
Under 50 caps.
So, Anita, your front three coming back from the international break, who would you be picking?
My front three, it does involve Hakim Ziyech. I know he's not a Chelsea favourite at the moment, but it involves Hakim Ziyech. Definitely Kai Havertz. I just cannot brush him aside at this moment. And it's really a toss-up, ain't it? But I will go for, I can choose Mason Mount, right? I'm going to choose Mason Mount as my last one. So Mount, Havertz, Hakim Ziyech. Please, guys, do not slaughter me. I'm telling you. he's so amazing. One thing you will learn about me is I was a big fan of Hakim Ziyech before he came to Chelsea. When he was at Ajax, I loved him. So his first season, obviously, I was a bit like, I love him a little bit. Yeah. But he's going to come in clutch at the end of this season. So Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz, and Mason Mount.
We saw across January especially, didn't we, how good Hakim Ziyech was. And again, that was the sort of first time, like Kai, he's done it consistently. And I was like, wow, this is the player we saw at Ajax. And we've got him, and I would be more than happy to have that front three. Krish, would you agree? Is there anyone you would change?
Yeah, like that form hasn't dropped off with Ziyech. Again, like his technique is like unbelievable. It's so good to watch. It's tough. I think like on form, that is the front three again. That makes sense. I know like Mount has been a bit less consistent this season, but I think we've said before, like we'd like to see a bit more of Werner, like to see a bit more of Lukaku, but at the moment they're just not doing it. So therefore, yeah, did they justify plays? Probably not. I think Pulisic's been pretty good recently, so I'd give him kind of an outside chance. But yeah, in terms of most effective, I think Ziyech, Havertz, and Mount were probably our most dangerous three at the moment.
I think it's been really intriguing to see who he plays against Brentford on the weekend, given the fact we've got Real Madrid a few days later at home. Now, when I look at Chelsea's season, I'm sort of thinking, well, top 3, top 4 almost seems like it's not set in stone, but you know, we look comfortably, we should get third. So is Real Madrid a bigger game? You know, is that a bigger game in terms of our season, the first leg of a quarter final? So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Romelu Lukaku play against Brentford to save Kai Havertz for potentially Real Madrid, because we saw how much Havertz, Werner and Mount, they troubled Real Madrid, didn't they, last season massively? So I think that's going to be really interesting. Right, let's get on to some more questions. And Hanan has asked, if there was a summer signing, Krish, I'm going to come to you first, you would personally like to see in the summer at Chelsea, who would it be and why?
Jeez.
Right, think about where do we need strengthening the most? Would you say the centre back is probably an option with the whole thing?
Yeah. So I mean, it depends. What I would actually like to see versus what we actually need, I guess, is the difference. Obviously, I would like to see like Erling Haaland, for example, but it might not happen.
We've got Kai Havertz. We don't need Erling.
Exactly. I'm weirdly like quite satisfied with the squad. It's more like, yeah, pinpointing those areas where.
Does
like,
Conor Gallagher count as a new? Does he count as a new signing? Does Armando Broja count?
I guess not. No. I don't know. I don't see Broja like staying or necessarily playing at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. Gallagher, I think, will definitely be like. Yeah, Gallagher will be in the squad.
Yeah, but this is my issue with Gallagher. He should be in the squad, but are you telling me he could write the World Cup squad? Is obviously the World Cup's coming up, and he is more than capable of playing in that World Cup for England. 100% he is. But to me, he needs to be playing week in, week out from the moment the season starts till the World Cup, which is a good few months. If he's at Chelsea, are you telling me he's going to get in place of Mount, who also plays in midfield sometimes, Kovacic, Kante and Jorginho? Feels like a really tough ask.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't know. What do you think, Anita? I don't see it, but yeah.
Personally, I think Chelsea sell one of the big three midfielders out of Kovacic, Jorginho and Kante. One of them is going to get sold, and that's where Gallagher can kind of. I don't think he will play week in, week out, but I think he will see a lot more game time than I usually expect. But if I had to choose a place to strengthen, it would be the midfield. Ironically, I know we're really like chopped up there, but it would be the midfield for me, and of course the defense, depending on what happens at the end of the season. But the midfield has always been that problem, and this is my Declan Rice propaganda coming back. Bring
I forgot about Declan Rice.
Bring him. I love Declan Rice.
I think it's a great shout.
Honestly,
150 mil though. 150 mil.
I mean, price tag aside, I wouldn't mind him coming through. But if 150 mil is pretty pricey, so the other option is Aurelien Tchouameni. I wouldn't mind bringing him over to the bridge as well. We just need a solid midfield that can kind of be there when the defense is a little bit shaky, because the defense has been holding us together for quite a long time, and it's only a matter of time, especially if we lose Rudiger, Aspilicueta and Christensen all in one window. So our midfield has to be strong,
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of Chelsea fans would say Declan Rice, wouldn't they, actually, if you asked them the player they'd want in the summer. Maybe 150 mil was worth it. He's young, obviously, and he's doing it week in, week out in the Premier League and for England. Joel has asked your best Chelsea player this season. We've already answered that, but he said, and the best game of the season that Chelsea have been involved in.
Oh, Chelsea Juventus, the 4-0.
Yeah, I was going to say it's still Juventus.
I missed that. I was in America, and I like those two games, Juventus and Leicester, were arguably the two best of the season. And I couldn't even watch it. Didn't watch it.
God, I feel like I went to the Juventus match, right? And I didn't really expect much. I was thinking, what's his name? The guy that plays there forward. I forgot his name. And
Chiesa.
Chiesa.
Chiesa, yeah.
I thought he was gonna run riot all upon our defense, and I was going there just Champions League night out, might as well just go. So getting those 4 goals, I was like, what the hell? Like, this was unexpected, and the atmosphere was 10 out of 10. I can't think of a better game, but I imagine if I went to the Chelsea-Liverpool game, I would have said that one though.
I went to the Chelsea-Liverpool game, and from games I've been to, I think, the Chelsea-Juve one, I think across the board is probably a lot of people would say that game. I wasn't there, so if I'm going to pick one I went to, it would have been Chelsea-Liverpool. It was unbelievable. Like, the atmosphere was just class. To go 2-0 down, to witness one of the goals of the seasons, and just that Stamford Bridge erupted when Pulisic scored as well. So I was in a box and I was jumping around like some absolute lunatic. Everyone sat and I was just like, I can't contain myself, like 2-0 down against Liverpool and just got back to 2-2. Absolutely, I'm going mental. So that was mine. Krish, what would you say one of those two?
Yeah, I agree with Anita actually, but similarly, I was there not at the Liverpool game, so maybe that was what made the difference for me. But I really think, like, historically, we're now quite like a pragmatic side, like pretty not defensive necessarily, but like we win games by like margins usually. You know what I mean? Not like blowing teams away all the time. I know we do it occasionally, but to beat a big name by that sort of margin and completely play them off the park and play with that level that we did when we already are the European champions, sort of like making another statement, was very satisfying, especially after losing their away. Yeah, and like, as you say, Chiesa is like a terrifying player. That finish in Turin was like unreal. So to beat them comfortably like that, and the atmosphere, it was pretty special.
I'm still so sad I missed that game. Right, Brendan has said, Chelsea, of course, before the break, we were obviously in very, very good form, just kept winning. With the international break coming at a bad time, do you think that might have reduced our chances of winning the quarterfinal game against Real Madrid, Krish?
No, I don't think so. Like, as we said before, there's quite a lot of players who didn't join up with their national teams for like whatever reason. And I think there is like this period, like once the games are done before the weekend, and obviously before that game next week, where Tuchel will have like plenty of time to prepare. So I don't think so. I think it kind of came at a good time. A lot of our players have had a rest. A lot of our more important players have had a rest. And then even our England players haven't been used like too extensively. So it's the same thing that everyone is dealing with, and preparations for that game will always be sort of hampered by like the international break. But I think, I've got faith in like Tuchel and the work he'll do in that time, and even with limited time, I think he'll prepare meticulously like he normally does.
Anita, do you agree? You still think Chelsea have a very good chance of getting to a Champions League semi?
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind. I still think that we can go to Real Madrid will come to us, and they'll still have a tough time trying to break us down and trying to beat us. And at the end of the day, Real Madrid players, they're also on an international break as well. You know, we've also got to weigh that up. And before their break, they lost 4-0 to Barcelona, and Benzema or not, like that's bad. That's really, really bad. It's not like Barcelona are an amazing side right now, you know. So I've still got faith that we can go into that match with our heads held high. We're coming off of a great international break. All of our players are doing quite well right now as well. Yeah, man. We'll be fine. Don't worry about it. We'll be okay. We'll be fine.
I mean, if last season's anything to go by, we should have comfortably won that tie by about 4 or 5 goals, the amount of chances we created. Now, someone who did score in that tie against Real Madrid last season was Timo Werner. Now, Krish, Mehul has asked, what did you make of Werner's comments about the German national team playing style suiting him better? And obviously, he gets more chances to score. I mean, when I heard this, I was like, well, I don't think that's a bad comment. I don't think it's like a one that Chelsea fans should be like, oh my God. I was just like, maybe the German side do play differently and it suits him better. What did you make of those comments?
Yeah, I mean, like it is probably true, to be fair. Like obviously international football was very different. it's kind of slower, and there are like more opportunities for strikers, I would say, than in the Premier League. But yeah, obviously Tuchel's system only has room for like one striker, and that isn't him at the moment. But also at the same time, he hasn't justified being that guy. You know what I mean? So I understand that he's maybe frustrated with like playing slightly wider or slightly deeper, but at the same time, if he started scoring them, maybe.
Just a quick question, Chris. Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick question. You say that. Where does I don't watch Germany? So obviously I'm assuming Kai Havertz plays through the middle for Germany. So where does Timo Werner play?
Werner plays up front, I think.
Does Havertz play slightly out wide?
Yeah.
And they play up front together.
I feel like they kind of play off each other a little bit.
Like really close together.
Which is kind of what we'd maybe like to see for Chelsea, but I don't really see it happening at this point. But yeah, I think he is more central at least. So there are more chances to be had, I guess. Like he isn't a winger to me, I guess. Like that is the issue with Chelsea. But yeah, whether he can. I mean, when these players like publicly say stuff, it's going to get back to the manager. So it's interesting to see what the reaction will be. But
I don't know if he's got that in him to be like, oh yeah, like I just think honestly, Anita, I love Timo Werner. There's something about him. I think you don't get to see much personality of players these days, and he just seems like such a likable character. And even an interview I saw at work, they were saying that like, he even said, I don't know why the Chelsea fans like me so much because I keep missing all these chances, but do you love him as much as I do?
I do. I'm such a big fan, maybe not of him as the footballer, but him as a person. Like you've seen like our old strikers who didn't quite do greatly at Chelsea. They'll always put their heads down and they want to stop going. But Timo, he keeps on going, and that's why the fans continue to love him. But just to add to his comments from what he said a couple of days ago, I personally think the only reason Chelsea fans are really annoyed is because Lukaku kind of said the same thing regarding how he was playing at Inter Milan. So it's just a little bit of a sore spot. But Timo Werner should be careful because the opposition that Germany have been playing, like North Macedonia, Israel. It's not France, it's not like, he needs to be careful what he's saying. Because if he does come up against, I don't know, a team, let's say England, if he does come up against England and the dynamic isn't the same.
No goals at the Euros whatsoever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
You are right. Guys, that is all we've got time for. Thank you everyone that sent in a message. I really appreciate them. We didn't get through them all, but hopefully we got through the most of them. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can also watch us on YouTube. Krish, thanks as always. Anita, thank you so much. Welcome to the team. Welcome to wherever you may be. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I'm looking forward to all of our pods going forward now. If you could drop us a review, it'd be very much appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you've enjoyed what you heard, and we'll see you all next time here on Wherever You May Be.